Guys that sleep with other guys' girlfriends, do you feel bad afterwards? I slept in a girl's bed once when we were both drunk. We did make out and stuff, but didn't have sex. She was my friend's roommate, and we all went out drinking and I crashed there. I worked with her boyfriend, which I didn't know until she explained who he was. The idiot told the guy what happened at one point. Didn't tell me. So he comes to work and gives me this super intense look and I'm like, what? Oh, that's right. So I just tell the guy, you know that's her fault, right? And he was just like, yeah. Later on, he gave me another really weird look. So I asked my friend, can you tell your roomie to tell this guy I didn't know anything until the next morning? She tells me, oh, she's pregnant now. He's probably looking at you like, you sure nothing happened? Just sleep? But yeah, baby was his. I had nothing to do with it. Story 2. This is how I lost my dad. After my parents got divorced, my dad started dating this other chick. Lady neglected to tell my dad she had a husband in prison. 1 year passes and the guy gets out of prison, tracks down my dad in his apartment, and offs him. I was 8, and with the divorce came split custody for my brother and I. I will never forget that on that weekend my father was supposed to take my brother and I for his time, but my mom kept us both with her because we had a cold. So if my mom never kept us home that day, we would have been a witness to his passing. Crazy how the world works. Story 3. I used to screw a girl whose boyfriend was a complete shithead, which I observed in person several times. When me and her met, it was agreed that it was just sex and would never go further. She was honest about her man the entire time. I was hesitant at first, and invited me to come to a restaurant where they were going to have dinner that night with the promise, I'll see how shitty he is. And I did. After that I thought, f that dude. Did I ever feel bad?
No.
But I would have if this was some innocent guy. I should add, this was an arranged marriage that the family decided to try out for 2 years before committing. She hated him, but kept being told by her family that she would learn to love him. Her opinion didn't matter, and she had no means of escape, so she did what she wanted behind closed doors. I just so happened to be who she wanted to do. That friends with benefits relationship lasted 6 years until I met my now fiancé. Once I realized how much I liked her, my fiancé, I told my friend with benefits that we had to end things because of that, and she congratulated me. My fiancé knows about her and actually invited her to our wedding because I didn't know this until recently. They talk online all the time. My fiancé told me that she got her citizenship 4 years ago and divorced the asshole a year later, if I'm getting it right. Now she lives alone in Atlanta, and I imagine she's having the time of her life. She's young, attractive, intelligent, educated, and kind. I wish her all the happiness in the world. She's one of the few cheaters that I fully believe wouldn't cheat on anyone who could step over the already to the ground bar that is most men today. Story 4. Hooked up with a girl at a party once. We hit it off and arranged to go on an actual date the next week. About an hour later, someone told me her BF had just showed up. I gave the dude a beer, explained that I had no idea she wasn't single and that I'm sorry. He gave me a massive hug and thanked me for being upfront. We both told her to f off and spent the rest of the night drinking and singing karaoke together. Top bloke. I didn't feel bad. I was lied to. He was betrayed. Nothing more to it really. So I hooked up with a girl who had a long-term boyfriend at the time. I didn't know, and we had few encounters over a 2-month period. One day I was curious and decided to look at her socials, and that's when I found out about him. I never bothered to look because I was being ignorant, and it was first time being in a FWB situation, so I was excited and wanted to keep it secret. As I scrolled down her socials, all I saw were pics of them on expensive dates and trips, and I just felt so bad for the guy. I felt like I had become the thing I hated the most. So that same night, I decided to DM him about the situation and send him the text between me and her to show him proof. He then called me and sounded really hurt, holding back tears, and all I could do was just say sorry over and over. But he thanked me and told me he would be leaving her. I then blocked her number and thought it was over with, but later on that week the girl showed up at my place of work and damaged my car. Although I was angry at the moment, I chose not to press charges as advised by the police, not USA, because the damage was minimal. But yeah, that's my story. On a positive note, he found a new girl who looks way better, and they equally appreciate each other outwardly on their socials. So yes, it was a happy ending. Story 5. I'm gonna be really honest here, but there is a moral of the story. For a long time, I did not care at all. If she wanted to sleep around with me, don't care. Not my sin, not my problem. She's got problems with her guy, or she just doesn't take her relationship seriously. Well, I'm not fixing either of those, but I can bang. So this kind of shitty behavior on my part went on for many years. I've slept with quite a few women who were in various stages of relationships, some more serious than others. And I left a wake of destruction. Relationships failed when I came around, and the women were left to pick up the pieces while I moved on and didn't care. I don't know why it took me personally so long to realize that I was a major contributor in all this emotional devastation. As the person enabling the cheating, my hands are not clean. I should care about what the guy feels and should be aware that I'm not in a vacuum. There are real consequences for her and for him, and it is enormously selfish and wrong to think that none of those consequences matter because they do not impact me directly. I realized all at once that the way I had been thinking about this was morally so wrong. To your question, during the time I was doing this, I did not feel bad at all. The women did, but I didn't. But now years later, I do feel bad, very bad. I cannot fix what I've done. There are no amends I could bring forward to make it right. The only thing I can do is sit with this shitty feeling and never forget it so that I never act that way again. And I haven't. Story 6. Many years ago now, I slept with a coworker several times who had a long-term boyfriend. I honestly didn't feel bad about it. We had an amazing connection, and yeah, it just sort of happened, and then it happened a few more times. Hypocritically of me, she went away on an extended trip. It was actually like a practicum placement for an air traffic controller degree she was completing, and I got the feeling that she was getting close to someone in that program. I still didn't necessarily feel bad. I just felt jealous, and that sort of snapped me out of it. She said she was going to come clean with her boyfriend, but I don't think she ever did. We hung out a few more times when she got back home, but I heard her lie to him a couple times on the phone about where she was. And again, it wasn't even that I felt bad for the dude. I just kind of didn't want to deal with the situation and could see it wasn't headed anywhere meaningful. They ended up getting married, and I think they're still together. I don't know why I didn't feel bad, and if anything, I look back and think, man, the damage was done. I should have just slept with her more. Story 6. I did it once. She was way out of my league. She was a 10, she was a model, smart, and graduated like second in her class, who I met at my old fast food job, and she was with her friends. She invited me to a concert that night, and I never really do spontaneous shit, so I said sure because she was beautiful and really nice. I later find out she's dating this guy, and I tread lightly for a while but can't stop thinking about her. She also came over a lot, and we were just friends. I remember her telling me how mean her BF was to her, and I told her to break up with him because she deserves better. I never really thought I had a shot, but I also couldn't tell the hints she was giving me until one day. I was in pretty good shape, and I had just gotten off of work, so I needed to shower, came out with just my towel and my shirt, and her eyes lit up. I was not a jock by any means, just athletic, and took care of myself. I could tell she was f***ing the shit out of me. I made my first move that night and kissed her, and that was the first time I felt the fireworks. We ended up having sex one of the next times we hung out, and she didn't feel bad about it, so I didn't feel bad about it. I thought this dude must really be mean to her. After our second time having sex, she couldn't do it anymore. Like flat out crying during. I stopped immediately and knew what was wrong. I told her we don't have to do this, and we never did again. I think she really did consider leaving him for me, but didn't want to. I don't think she ever told him either. I only felt bad because she felt bad. I liked her a lot, and we would do so much together. It never was the same after that. Story 7. I'm a woman that slept with a man with a long-term, 10 years, girlfriend. I didn't feel bad at the time. I made a bunch of excuses to justify why it was okay. In my mind, I liked him more than she did. She was mean to him and didn't like him for who he was. blah blah blah. I confided in my sister-in-law one night and she said, the other woman is always nicer because his girlfriend has been dealing with his shit for 10 years, and you've just been partying with him and having a good time for a few months. I saw him in a different light after that conversation, kind of realized he had been playing me. I still don't feel that bad about the girlfriend. I'm not overly convinced she didn't know / she didn't also cheat on him. I feel more like I got caught up in a shitty place in their relationship. They're married now. I wouldn't sleep with someone married with kids. That seems more like breaking up a home. I feel less guilty about someone just in a relationship. Doesn't seem that serious to me. Story 8. When I was in college, I was crazy about a girl, but she had a boyfriend. We stayed friends for 2 years, signing up for the same classes and grabbing lunch / dinner on campus once a week or so after class. Her boyfriend ended up studying abroad twice during that time. The second time he went to Belgium for 4 months, and I had just broken up with my girlfriend. She told me she liked me, and I couldn't lie to her, so I admitted I was crazy about her. Once it was clear this was going down, I told her to break up with her dude. So she did via Facebook chat. Apparently he didn't accept that and wanted to talk when he got back. We tried to wait, but a week later we jumped each other's bones. When he got back at the end of the semester, she broke up with him in person. We ended up dating for 4 years, and wouldn't you know it, she ended up cheating and running off with a guy she met at a bar she was working at. Suppose I had that coming, but for what it's worth, I don't regret it. Story 9. I fell in love with a girl that was taken back in 2014. We kept talking and really hit it off. To me, she was such an amazing girl whom I had a lot in common with. She lived a few hours away, but her parents lived nearby. One time she visited her parents and a few old local friends. She sat in the car with me, drunk, and crying about how her boyfriend neglected her, treated her like a maid, never paid her any mind at all, and all in all just took her for granted. I did nothing with her then and there, but we kept talking after I got her home to her mom and dad. It was clear she wanted me, and I wanted her. I had a hope she would leave him, but she never did. In 2018, she came for a visit. We went to see a movie together, and she came home with me as friends. She started to be a bit cuddly, sat on my lap, kissed me, we went to bed, and a few hours later I drove her back to her parents. We had an affair for about 3 months, after which she broke it off because I had woken something back up in her, and she fell in love with her boyfriend again. I must say that he is the blindest and stupidest man I have never met. She usually met her family a couple of times each year, and suddenly she went over for a week at the time every month. I should have known it would happen, but I was still devastated, and then I lost everything I ever had for her. I felt nothing for her anymore, and more than anything I was free from a curse after wanting her for so many years. As for what I feel regarding her boyfriend, I don't really feel all that much. From what she told me, their sex life was boring, with boring missionary happening maybe once a week if she was lucky. He sat with his phone or computer all day, and they were basically roomies instead of a couple. She craved more fun and excitement. He neglected her, and she wandered off to someone who actually wanted her. To this day, I do believe he still doesn't know, and I do not intend to tell him. If she really wants to stay in a boring relationship with someone who does not see her for who and what she is, then that is not my problem. I have a girl in my life now whom I love so very dearly, and I do all I can to make sure she knows it, because if I don't, someone else might do it instead. Story 10. I have been with 3 girls who were cheating on their boyfriends with me, and I knew about it, because they told me they were in a relationship, or I simply knew they were. I was young back then, and somewhere thought it was cool I was able to steal their girlfriends. Turns out these type of girls are just garbage human beings. I remember one time, me and the girl were lying in my bed naked, and she was on the phone with her current boyfriend, just talking like nothing's wrong, saying she loves him, while stroking my when literally not even 10 minutes ago I finished inside her. Again, back then I thought that was peak performance. I was proud of myself. After many years, I think back at those moments with so much regret. That one specifically, it's just so excessively cruel when you think about it. Ultimately, it left me with many trust issues. The sweetest girl could just be double timing you, and you would honestly never know unless she wanted to. Karma has it that I was also cheated on. I should have saw it coming, but that whole red flags cliche. People that cheat always have some kind of pathology behind it. They will say the other person stopped caring or whatever, but instead of leaving, they choose to have this whole secret fantasy play out. And trust me, they get off on the whole cheating thing. I have played it out 3 times with them. They don't want love or emotions or connections. They want the taboo of cheating, and they really lay into it. If anybody finds out, I am screwed. If he only knew what we were doing right now. You are my dirty little secret. You would constantly hear shit like that. I lose all respect for people who cheat. They are just cowards serving their own needs. If you want to fuck around, then go be single. Don't string along someone because it's convenient for you.